This episode of Jeep Talk Show is brought to you by G-Tops. Now you can get 25% off. In the beginning, the idea of G-Tops was simply to let the light into your Jeep. Many Jeepers take their tops off. Freedom Tops make this easy and easy to store. What if you could let the light in every time you drive your Jeep? Rain, snow, sunny, it doesn't matter. That's G-Tops, letting you enjoy the outside simply and easily. Use the code 25OFF at checkout. G-Tops that were over $1,200 are now less than $1,000. Your price may vary. Contact gtops.com at 414-350-6006 right now. All right, well let's get started here real quick. Just to get into it, we're talking anyway, so we might as well make it into a show, right? So I am Tony. This is the Jeep Talk Show Roundtable episode, and tonight we have one subject. If we run out of things to talk about on this one subject, then we'll just open it up to talk about anything. So I do that quite often, but it always seems that we fill the hour anyway. So Greg is one of the individuals that responded to the ad of Be the New Josh, and we actually got two people, April and Josh, out of it. Josh is on the flagship episode on Tuesday. April's on the flagship episode on Thursday, if you haven't caught those yet. So we're going to, Greg actually brought this up in one of the recent flagship episodes about, and I didn't know this. It makes sense, but I didn't know this. Sliders. And I think it actually started because of Matt. If you guys on Discord, you've seen the problems that Matt had with breaking some body to frame bolts that had red Loctite on them, which I was surprised that it, not that it had red Loctite, but only the front ones have red. The other four have blue. I don't know what it is for a two-door. I don't know if there's the same amount of body mounts on a two-door. But anyway, started the discussion on sliders because that's what Matt was putting on. And Greg says that if you don't weld on the sliders, it's cosmetic. Greg, state your position so everybody will.
Okay. So it was my position that after having experienced the pitfalls and drawbacks of getting any kind of step rail or slider that attaches via the pinch weld and body mounts, that if you intend to sincerely use them while on the trail, you're going to hate yourself for mounting those things on there, no matter how good a deal you got or how cool they look. Anything that you're depending upon the vehicle to sustain, the weight, like if you're pivoting around a rock, if you're falling off a ledge, shit happens, you did it on purpose, whatever, those types of things need to be mounted to the chassis. It's the same concept as the difference between a sport cage from the factory that's body mounted versus an aftermarket cage that you tie into the frame. So that it can be taken out of context if it's not, presented in such a light, because everybody's version of what's hardcore and their wheeling style is completely different. So what I do with this rig behind me is radically different than what the wife does with hers over there. So her factory rails are completely fine because she might curb check the thing and that'd be about the end of it. Whereas in my case, I am literally bashing them to bits, and the body mount stuff will not hold up to that abuse. Will not.
And I don't think I have to tell anybody here, if you have a differing opinion, please state it with all the gusto that you have, as much as you want to defend it. So
I got thick skin. You're not going to hurt my feelings.
Because we want to get information out here.
So I don't have hurt feelings either, but I will say I'm running the MotoBilt sliders that are tied into the body bolts and the body. The same sliders that Zabo's running on his crazy rig, same sliders that Matt's installing, that Matt's buddy has. So several JOUs, JKUs. And I did a little research before I got them. GenRight, MotoBilt, Metal Cloak, JCR, let me go down the list. And they all have them marketed as sliders that tie in there. I beat the living shit out of mine. I put the whole Jeep down on them and never had any problems. They are mounted to the body bolts underneath and kind of go through. And so I think nobody would disagree that weld-ons are the cream of the crop. Like that's where you want to go if you're going to be doing just pure rock buggy type stuff. But I think that, Tony, what you said that I was questioning was that you called this style bad, like it won't work. Like this is not the way you want to go. And the reason why I was bringing it up was because, hell, anybody that's going to be doing research, if you go out there and you do research, like I said, all the major manufacturers market them that way. Well, they ran it on Terramoto V1 with the bolt-ons. They didn't go to the weld-ons until V2 with GenRight. So they've run King of the Hammers with them mounted that way. So it was just, if you're doing research on that and you're trying to find them, I don't think that you can call it bad if somebody's running it this way. I think there's definitely, like you said, it's relative. Rock buggies versus dual purpose rigs or whatever you want to call it. But with so many top-notch vendors out running that style, I mean, it's just, is there something the industry was missing in that kind of thing was the question. I'm not talking about man of the pinch teams like the factory Ruby rails. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ones we have are actually mounted to the frame, but they're mounted via bolts through the body bolts. They're not welded on. And that was what I was referring to in the Discord.
So something Greg told me, it was either before the recording or during the recording, I don't remember, but Greg, you told me that you have on your Jeep, you have that style of slider on your Jeep, and I'll tell the audience here what you have to do after.
So these are my Poison Spyder, free to me, rocker, slider, armor, what do you want to call them? So there's your money shot, Poison Spyder, blah, blah, blah. And as you can see, if you keep watching, that's driver's door trying to open and close over the body mounted slider. So, and if you look a little bit closer, you can tell that they're not there to protect the rocker anymore, because the rocker, the doors, the rest of the sheet metal, it's all trash. This thing's a raisin.
When you say body mounted, though, when you say body mounted,
they are body mounted. So they are mounted via the body mounting bolts on both sides, front to back. And every time I put the weight of the Jeep on them, this is where I end up. You can see I haven't pulled them down from the last time I went out a year ago. But
see, that's a critical bit. He has to bend them down after a wheeling trip.
I have, and now granted, it's not exactly a fair comparison to please, this is no insult, no dig at anybody. This isn't a regular Jeep. This thing is far surpassed what you would normally expect to find with this kind of a setup on it, because the only reason I put them on here, they were free. They were given to me, so I stuck them on just to get rid of my factory rails that were just as chewed up as the rest of the sheet metal. So by the time you add the Dana 80 axles, the 45-inch tires, the custom suspension that I've done, blah, 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 I'm north of 6,400 pounds curb weight easily. This thing is long, fat, and wide. It is.
I've just got the Dynatrack 60 stuff like that, and I'm at 6,200 pounds. So mine's pretty heavy too, and I've laid on these sliders pretty heavy. Now I don't know if maybe MotoBilts with the 3/16 of steel are just stronger than Poison Spyders.
I will guarantee you the MotoBilts are stronger than the Poison Spyder. I promise you that. Yes.
And I think that was the point I was making, was it's not purely a mounting setup that can have them. Just because they're mounted to the body bolts doesn't mean they're bad sliders and they won't work.
And that wasn't what I was trying to say. It's not that it's bad. It's that you have to understand the difference between how much you're literally trying to punish it every time you go out versus how much you're spending on it and what the expectations are. In this case, for what I'm doing, this particular setup does not work right. I'm asking more than the component can provide.
But to simply say welded is better. I mean, welded's always better, but to simply say that the only ones that are great are welded is just not 100% true, because every manufacturer does different. Some might cheap out on the mounting hardware or whatnot. I mean, like a company that does really research in their engineering and research and develop, and how they're making sure that when you land on something that force is being distributed differently. I mean, one guy could have an L bracket, the other one could have, a boat style gusset in there or something that's going to, transfer the weight differently than
right. And there are designs out there that are much, much better than this particular version. I do not argue that at all. What I will say is that just my standard, my standard comparison is always going to fall back to a factory Jeep cage, which it's not a cage. It's a bar. It's a roll bar. You smash it once, it's done. You have to unbolt it, start over with a new one. It's compromised versus a chassis mounted roll cage, an actual cage. worlds of difference in what each one of they both serve the same purpose, but the aftermarket or custom roll cage is always going to be 100% more effective and safer than a factory bar that's bolted to the body in several points versus being
only
attached.
depending on who installed it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
and
yes. Well, for
you
the
could
sake
also
of the discussion, in a perfect world installed professionally and done right, these particular Poison Spyder sliders bolt to the 3 body mounts up and down the side, and then a few bolts through the pinch seam, just like the factory ones. That's it. There's nothing else supporting these things. It's like my argument about why I don't like body armor. You Swiss cheese the same component that you're trying to save from damage. You basically destroy your body panels to install riv nuts and put body armor on. And then people act surprised when they bash into something with it thinking it's going to protect the Jeep, and the foundation is Swiss cheese sheet metal. Guess what? That's all that's holding up your armor. It's not like it's tied to the chassis or the crash bars or anything else. It's just hanging off the sheet metal. So there's a limit to what body armor will take and protect you from. So it's the same thing with these. And if I had to go back and never put these on, I would rather just have nothing there than have these, because they're more of a hindrance and a hassle. They look cool. They sort of do what they're supposed to do. And if this was, again, if I wasn't doing, like it was mentioned earlier, if I'm not doing full on buggy stuff all the time, then this wouldn't be an issue. If I were still on Dana 44s and 37s, they'd be fine because I wouldn't be pushing the rig that hard.
But,
So the
but
point
my
I was
point,
trying to make,
and this is something we talked about, I think it was on the today's flagship episode that was released. You never know when something's going to happen unintended. You
Right,
never know when
right.
something unintended is going to happen. So I thought it was important that we have this discussion because it is something that's very well accepted in the industry. I think that it is very well accepted in the industry because not everybody can weld. Not everybody wants to weld. They just want to get bolt on and have it look cool and provide some protection. So, and John,
and there's nothing wrong with doing it that way. If
No.
that's, if it's a budget constraint, if it's an installation skill constraint, something like that, I mean, it's fine. So long as you understand the difference.
I should have
That's
contacted
what
Zabo.
I think
I should have
budget-
contacted Zabo because Zabo's build is not your everyday build. So I'm kind of surprised he didn't go with weld-on. Actually, I'm surprised Mike at Platinum Off-Road didn't recommend weld-on.
He did.
But you
He
could
did.
say the same thing when it comes to roll cages. I mean, we had the conversation a while back about roll cages. There's bolt-in roll cages, and then there's weld-in roll cages. I mean, one is definitely going to be the weld-in is probably going to be, for as long as it's done correctly, is definitely going to be better. But you're also talking about what's the percentage of people that off-road. Now out of that percentage, what's the percentage of those people that are out there hitting buggy lines? So
Well,
like
but
Tony
I mean-
just said, it only takes one mistake on a level 3 or level 4 to
That's
put
my
yours on
point.
its side or on its lid.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're second guessing that, well, I'm not going to push it that hard. I'm not going to go out here and act the fool. And the split second that you misalign by, a few inches or don't hear your spotter or miss, we see the videos, guys, all the time where people make screw ups like that. And you never know when that kind of thing is going to happen. So for a guy like me doing what I'm doing, I prefer to recommend, and for like what I want to change about my own setup, I would rather have something that is correctly tied into the chassis that I don't have to worry about. It's not going to fail. It's depending upon the body mounts and those pinch welds to support the weight of the Jeep. I'm not saying you can't get away with it a few times. And like I said, a quality set of something better, because these are the post sellout. If you guys are in the know,
yeah.
these are not the original Poison Spyder. These are the post sellout Poison Spyder versions. So they're nowhere near on the quality of what Poison Spyder's reputation was, built on. So if these were like the ones that Mike has from MotoBilt that he was mentioning a minute ago on his rig, those things are substantially more beefy than the Poison Spyder version. I guarantee it. Mike just came back from over in Arkansas, Hot Springs, and he missed it on a line, and he took a 4-foot fall straight into one of his and shoved it up into the body and bent the shit out of it. It's bad enough he sent me pictures earlier because we were talking about this. He's having to replace it because that was an extreme example, like Tony was just mentioning. He didn't mean to do it. It was completely an accident. But it was a 4-foot drop with the entire weight of the vehicle coming down on that thing all at once, and it killed it. Absolutely killed it. So there's extreme examples both directions. Again, you have to be honest with yourself, or if you're selling it to somebody, if you're, in the business of selling these parts, be honest with, what it will actually put up with versus your driving style or your choice of terrain. So I in no way meant to sound like it was my idea is superior to yours, blah, blah, blah. It's just the facts of what
no crawfishing. That's exactly it.
it's the foundation of what's supporting the component. Like you wouldn't use 7/16 hardware on your axle joints, or excuse me, your suspension link joints, because you know that even on a stock Jeep, that's not enough hardware to put up with any kind of decent off-roading. It's just not substantial enough.
I'm curious what Greg or Rich has to say about the subject.
Oh, I can go down a whole rabbit hole if you want me to.
Absolutely.
So 100% he's got the best name in the world, so he already knows some shit. But he's a quality set of weld-ons is going to be, and quality, right? Because you can have garbage weld-on too. I've seen people weld muffler tubing on and think that it's good. But there's downfalls with weld-on too, especially unless it's detached from the body, because you need the body frame separation to get a higher quality ride and even more flex. However, there are some really substantial sets that tie into not only the pinch seam but the body mount, and then up the body, like the original Poison Spyder ones, which he mentioned. They were some of the strongest things you could. And yes, you had to put rib nuts in your body, but they went into structural areas and then it distributed the load across the thing. So a quality engineered set, and I noticed since JL, we've gotten away from the quality engineered sets, right? Everybody back in the day, JCR, Metal Cloak, everybody made ones that riv nutted to the body and attached to the pinch seam and attached to the body mounts, and went through all the rigmaroles. And then you could still have the body versus frame flex, which actually gives you a better off-road characteristics. However, the aftermarket in large has gotten rid of those, and you see those like cheap Chinese garbage versions, like he's got, after the buyout.
Yep.
Like when Poison Spyder was owned by Clifton Slay, it was the best armor you could buy. And then Larry bought it, on the steps of the courthouse and turned it into a marketing genius of a company and still produced high quality parts. And there's lots of companies out there. I mean, even Rockslide Engineering, you look at some of their earliest stuff, and it did the same thing. It attached to the body mount, the pinch seam, and riv nutted into the body in structural areas. And you could drop those things off at 8-foot ledges and slam into boulders and never have a scratch. But as the ease of the aftermarket, they wanted quick, easy installation. Everybody started just going to the pinch seam and maybe body mount. And things just don't get as strong as like a true fabricated set. So you're 100% correct, and everybody's opinion has been correct on some level or another. But a true quality engineered set that ties into the body in multiple points can be just as strong and more beneficial than just a weld-on set, unless you're just doing buggy shit all day long. And then who fucking cares? Because you're probably not driving it on the road like, the average person.
Like I do.
Right. So yeah,
and that's why I said to work sometimes.
Right. And that's why I said I can go down a rabbit hole, because there really are some super quality stuff out there but the installation's a lot harder, and you got to have a good Jeep to start with, right? You can't.
Oh, and it's also fair to note that the gauge and quality of the sheet metal in the JL and JT tubs versus the JK tubs is substantially less. FCA worked their ass. I mean, it's got aluminum doors, aluminum hood, composite tailgate, and then really light gauge steel body tub. And it's, that is still the foundation. So like the JK version of the one he's just describing that has the rocker armor that goes on and provides additional mounting points for the slider itself on a JK is going to actually do a little bit better with harder hits than it would on a JL, just because the foundation is stronger on the JK. from a material level. So,
well, from a material level, 100%, but not from a structural level. The JL body is stiffer and stronger than the JK, and it's almost an identical tub. The doors are fucking worthless, even though they weigh just as much, but they're aluminum. And there's some other worthless components. And yeah, the magnesium rear tire carrier. Don't even get me started on that. But,
yeah, we had those stock on the JKs too.
Well, yeah, but they
all four of my doors, because I've got the power windows and all that shit. All four of my doors total about 300 pounds. If you weigh all four of them, I mean I'm 6'1", 255. Just taking the doors off the Jeep to hit the trail is taking me plus out of the Jeep as far as sprung weight. Which is, the JO ones are light. That part of it, the lightweight, is cool, but they damn sure aren't going to hold up if you're not pulling them off. If you bang into shit with them, you're going to regret it. So.
Oh yeah, and the JL does have a much superior cage than the JK. It's much stronger. It's much safer in the event of a rollover. And if somebody would build a really quality rocker guard set and actually tie into the base of that B pillar, so that it would spread the load even further and into the cage.
Not just the outside face of, but the actual structural.
Yeah. And instead of just putting a rib nut in, do a sleeve and tie it all the way in. And that would be great. But again, now we're back into engineering and getting a company to do it. Like, I'd love to do it. I just can't afford. We're already launching enough products, and I can't afford to go down that road. But 100%, a good quality set of rocker guards, and not. The worst example is the ones that he showed in the first place, because they're the cheap Chinese garbage poison Spyder. Right.
It's a design. The way these things are designed, they basically pivot on the pinch weld.
Does everybody remember J.C. Whitney?
Yeah.
It is the J.C. Whitney version of fucking off-roading.
Absolutely.
Which is a downfall, because poison Spyder, like Clifton, and I love Clifton to death, but Clifton started this amazing company, and he only wanted to build this high quality, true armor. And he did an amazing job. And then when Larry got it, Larry turned it into this powerhouse of a company until he sold it. And then, Four Wheel Parts just fucking ruined it. But
it's the same scenario with Yukon and Randy's. I mean, you guys can remember 10 years ago, Yukon was one of the top 5 easily, without question.
Yep.
And we're so far away from that now. It's sad, but they're still the most expensive retail priced aftermarket gear supplier on the out there.
Yeah, and now they own Dynatrac, and so Dynatrac's
gonna. On one boy's post about that, he was bragging about his new Dynatrac axles, and I was like, he's like, I'm sure glad I got mine equipped with Dynatrac, and I'm like, I'm sure glad mine aren't full of Yukon parts. Right. Like, he goes, what? Like, yeah, if you didn't know.
And that's one of the things that's good about this show, is we could bring this information to people. I didn't know until recently about the Yukon.
Hey, Tony, did you see the text I sent you?
Yeah, I did.
It's just a screenshot, but Marvin is down in Mexico. They're doing a 24-hour hell and back, so he couldn't join the show, and Ian is busy right now.
Give me just a minute, okay?
But both of them said that they'd come. They're busy right now, so I apologize that I couldn't get them on.
No, it's not a problem. I'm glad that you asked them. That's all you can do.
Hey, I got a question. Whoops, sorry. On your. I'll get a little closer if anybody needs to speak.
Blair Witch.
While Derek's figuring out what to say, I'm going to give a sneak preview to everybody else.
Turn your camera on, Greg.
Oh shit! I didn't realize it wasn't on.
Are you going to let me talk now, Greg?
Yeah, but first,
getting me.
Here's the JK ones.
No.
The very first set ever off of the press. They're pre-grain. The tools go out for grain tomorrow. But this is the first set in the world of the JK ones.
Finally.
Are we going to have them for Jeep Invasion?
I'm going to a meeting tomorrow at noon with the grain house. If they can get them grained, they told me within 7 to 10 days where they can get the graining done, so it'll be the identical to the JK. Then yes, I'll bring probably 50 or 100 sets to the Jeep Invasion. It'll be the first place in the world where they're available. But so, finally, here's JK ones. Now go, Derek.
Is it okay? Do I have the floor?
You have the floor.
All right, so so on a weld on, you wouldn't like, that's great. You weld them on, they're on there, but if they get bent, now you either have to cut the welds off and put some new ones on, or are you concerned at all with welding to that frame and then getting that frame hot, and then you're taking that risk of burning the paint off the inside of that frame that you cannot paint back? So
well, there's no paint on the frame. It's just e-coat. So you could run paint inside the frame, but I would recommend, as kind of a nerd fabricator, I would never just take the tube and weld it directly to the frame, because the frame is relatively thin, and your tube is probably going to be a little bit beefier. I would always make some form of a fish plate that I attach to the frame first, and then add that rocker to that. And I like the few sets that I've made, I usually make essentially a male end that sticks off of the frame. And then the rocker guard itself, I will pin it. So I can put it over the male end. So I give it the female side. I can put it over and I can pin it. That way, if it gets damaged, you don't have to cut it back off. You can literally take a couple very high quality, grade 8 bolts out, remove the whole thing and either replace it. But, if you're building a high quality set like that, it's the sacrificial lamb, right? I would much rather destroy a couple pieces of DOM than cave in the side of the Jeep.
Bingo.
Right.
Bingo. There you go.
But you're not going to be concerned with rusting the inside of that frame when you burn that e-coat off?
Well, not really. Not
usually what I do,
time in the water or on the coast.
Well, like I'm in Michigan, so everything is creates rust.
Road salt.
So anytime I do anything to the frame, just like this one behind me, you guys have some of you guys have followed along. Massive amounts of welding and cutting and grinding on this frame. So then it went and it got sandblasted inside and out. We hit it with steel shot, and then we coated it internally. There's a couple different kits you can buy, and you being a painter should know they have the big stems with the little fan tip that you can run up the frame, and you can actually paint the inside of the frame. I always do that. Anytime I weld on a frame, the first thing I do is put basically a roto-rooter inside of there and clean all the shit and debris out, and then go back and prep it, epoxy it, and paint it. Because in Michigan, we have to worry about rust.
What about cavity wax?
You can do the cavity wax as long as you keep up on it.
That's not appropriate for a family show.
Gents, I gotta dip. My presence is being requested. So.
No, you're the new host of a show. You got to stay till the bitter end.
He gets in here, stirs it up, and leaves.
You can't bring on this controversial subject and then bail.
I gotta stay put to bed, guys. Come on,
we'll talk shit about you while you're gone, so you have to listen in and see what was said.
Oh yeah. Talk. Get it on.
Well, I got called out last week for all the armor and stuff that I have, but I wasn't.
All good. See you, Greg.
Yeah,
y'all be good.
You're going to have to start calling him. What's his last name?
Nichols?
Yeah.
Is it Nickel?
Yeah, you're going to have to call him Greg N. Otherwise, I'm going to get all fucked up.
That don't take much.
Every time somebody says Greg, I'm like, yeah?
Squirrel.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and the only reason I bring that up,
I was here first, motherfucker. You can call him
Greg
Deuce.
1. You can be Greg 1.
Yeah, Greg Nickel.
No, the only reason I bring it up though, Tony, is for the average people that want to go to a shop and pay to get this on, because it's not something most people are going to DIY. That's to me, that's things like, Greg number 1 is always going to do his, the right way and paint the frame. But your average people, especially around here,
even your average shop is not going to.
That's what I was just going to say. I don't think an average shop would do it either.
The TJ frames were notorious for rusting without welding on them. So
yeah, and I would 100% advocate put the best ones you can on. The quality bolt-on ones, especially for TJ, are there's way better ones for TJ than there are for JK and JL. But just put a really good quality set on it and put the best set you can afford and enjoy it. If you've got the cheap Chinese knockoffs, because the set that he showed was literally the worst ones you could even talk about. So
we're in a good set that could use as a base.
Well, one of the earlier sets of poison spiders, something that was 2 to 3 years older than that, would have been great, and you can bash them into boulders all day long and never have an issue. But that particular set, you might as well just talk about some Quadratech shit or some JC Whitney shit.
Rough country.
And
easy on the Quadratech, easy.
Well,
extreme terrain.
I love Quadratech and I'm friends with Quadratech, but their private branded stuff is literally the bargain basement shit.
It's a profit deal.
They have a couple JL bumpers that they've come out with that are actually stout, but their rocker guards are muffler tubing. Their doors, their tube doors are muffler tubing. None of it's substantial stuff. And the people that work at Quadratech know that. So I'm not saying anything that people don't know. But I absolutely love Quadratech. I mean, I build their fucking show cars. But honestly, their private label Quadratech rocker guards, I wouldn't bolt them on and expect to go off road. I'd bolt them on and expect to drive to the mall.
I'll keep you in the loop. I don't like how they mounted. You literally drill a hole and put a damn nutsert in it. That's not gonna hold up. I mean, now there's eight nutserts per rock slider, but I still don't see
so that's a different rock slider than the ones that they forced me to put on the YJL. Fucking garbage.
But he's not better.
Now, you're on a JL there. I'm in the we put metal cloak on the JL and it seems really well. But now for the TJ, you drill 8 holes in the frame and put nutserts. So there's nothing going to a pinch weld. It's bolting straight to frame.
Ooh, I wouldn't like that at all.
I wouldn't like that either. I'd rather him be on the body on a TJ.
Yeah. I've got I've got the GenRight ones, the steel GenRight ones, and it's got bolt through. And there's plates, on the bottom, under the bottom of the door. There's a plate that goes on the inside of the door, and then you drill all the way through, and then the holes line up.
Did you do the TJ ones where you have to take a sledgehammer and beat the whole rocker guard in, or do you do the ones that cover it?
I've got the bolt sides. I didn't beat the rocker guard in. I just took some pliers and just bent that little bottom piece over. Yeah.
Oh, they had a set of boat side ones, and it was, we're talking 5 years ago now, but it would not go on. I couldn't get it all the way up to the door where it's supposed to go without literally taking a 10-pound sledgehammer and beating the whole bottom of the rocker guard in 2 inches.
Good God, that's a lot.
Now, once it was done, right? So an hour and a half of swinging a sledgehammer and swearing. Once it was done and fully installed, incredibly strong and incredibly beautiful. But most people don't have the balls, and I hate to say it that way, but to install that set, right? Because you had 2 options. You could either beat the whole bottom in or you could cut it off. I chose to beat it in because I wanted the strength and the structure of the metal there. But once they were done, absolutely beautiful. I was really, really impressed with them. I think some of the best TJ rocker guards I've ever seen, which is a downfall that the company went out of business, but it was Kilby Enterprises. Kilby Enterprises made some amazing rocker guards for TJ, as well as Nth Degree. Nth Degree made some just bitchin' ones, but when AEV bought it, they discontinued them right away because they were not cost effective to manufacture. But there's awesome rocker guards, right? And buy whatever you can afford, buy whatever you like the look of, but just pay attention, right? You're not going to get something like what he showed, which just bolts to the pinch seam and is very simplistic. Those aren't going to, the factory ones are just as strong. So, pay attention to what you buy and what you can afford and enjoy it. But, I think the hardest part, and I think what a lot of people took away from that in the very beginning, me included, was the first statement. And the first statement was high quality weld-on ones or nothing, right? because all bolt-on ones are garbage. And here's my explanation, and here's my example. And that's what caused us all to, hairs on the back of our neck to stand up, and the the comments to ensue. So
honestly, that's just good podcasting.
No, it was great. It really was, because it caused reactions from everybody.
Opinions.
And it caused a lot of
we need opinions. We need to get this information out to the people that aren't here in the roundtable, that just are viewers and listeners, so that they'll know. My takeaway on this is the same as it was before. You can do something that's not weld-on, but you also can get yourself in a situation where you wish you had. Now, if you're not taking it off-road, or not doing anything that's super challenging to the rig, then it sounds like you don't really need the weld-on thing. And there was a lot of information about the weld-on stuff. I didn't realize what you were talking about, Greg, where you were you don't weld straight to the frame. You actually put something on there so you could take them off if you want to. That sounds like a really good idea.
Well, that's just over-engineering it, but right. I would never weld directly to the frame for a structural bash component, because the frame isn't as strong as what you're attaching to it, right? And just like Derek said, you can create hot spots or brittle spots in the frame by welding to it, and then you're going to run into multiple issues. One, the rest issue. Two, when you take two pieces of metal, so let's say you have two pieces of mild steel and you weld them together, that actual weld is brittle. So, and here I can actually show you.
Well, another point too is frames are meant to actually move. Like if you look at a pickup truck, flex. Like if you look at a pickup truck going over a rough road, the bed and the body will move, look like they move separately. They're meant to do that.
So I don't know if you can see this, but you should be able to. Yeah. So let me find a good one. I'm not concerned with what the weld looks like. I'm concerned with what's happening around the weld. So you can see it kind of here and get right in the right angle. So this weld, do you see the discoloration to the metal above it?
Uh-huh.
So that discoloration is actually a change in the metallurgy. So when you put this weld in, this weld is running at, 2,500 Fahrenheit. And, somewhere right around there. So it's at the melting point of steel. So this weld is well above 2,000 degrees, probably below 3,000. And that discoloration is actually a change to the metallurgy inside the metal. So this is mild steel and this is mild steel. This part in between is now essentially kind of like a hardened steel. So it is brittle. So let's say you've welded a tube. Let's say my lung burner here is a tube, and I've welded it to this piece of steel. If I can get it to stand up. So if there's a weld joint at the bottom there, all the way around what that tube is welded to the metal, you're going to have the exact same thing where you have that discoloration. And it's going to be because it was superheated and it cooled down too fast. So you're going to actually have what they call either a hot spot or a brittle spot. So if this takes a hit, let's say, this is part of your rocker guard, and this takes a massive hit up here at the top, it's not going to be able to bend at the base or the brittle part, because that part is stronger than the rest of the metal. So it's going to have to bend slightly up the shaft a little bit. If all the load transfers to that weld, it can snap the weld, it can break it. So that's what he's talking about with brittle. So when you weld to something, it gets those hot spots or brittle spots. And if you don't normalize it, then you run into an issue. Like if you research NASCAR chassis or full race car chassis, you realize they have to, after they build those chassis in the roll cage, they have to put the entire chassis into an oven and bring it up to like 1800 Fahrenheit, and then very slowly drop it over several hours to normalize the entire thing and to get all the molecules of the metal to kind of re-soften up and realign.
Oh, that's
so you
nice.
you don't have some that are super tight and hard, and then others that are loose and relaxed. They all have to be the same level of relaxed. Otherwise, in one of those 200 mile per hour crashes, that cage could essentially snap apart like Legos instead of bending and deforming.
Right.
So you have to normalize it. And in the off-road world, it's very, very rare to see any of that normalization of metal. Only in high-end race cars does that happen.
All right, let's take a
them in barns like Days of Thunder taught me.
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
All right, so let's take a quick pause here and see if anybody else wants to jump in on this conversation. Lots of good information, and I'm sure it's generated some sort of comment or question. Don't feel like you got to ask, but if you do have a question, jump in there, or a statement.
Well, I was going to say earlier, like I've got the kind that go in at my body mounts and bolt in where the body mounts are, and then bolt to the body on the TJ. And they're not the old Poison Spyders. They're a direct copy of the old Poison Spyders. My brother-in-law has the old Poison Spyders, and we can't tell the difference other than no logo. But they've worked really well, and I've bounced mine off a lot of junk.
I'm curious what Rich has to say about all this too.
Come on,
is
Rich.
knowledgeable. Get your ass over to the camera and start talking.
Rich is probably taking a wheel off the XJ.
He's working on it.
Yeah.
No, it's sitting outside. It's not happy with me right now. I don't really have too much to add. I think Greg was pretty well explained it.
Which one?
Which one? Greg 1 or Greg 2?
Yeah.
Yes.
Green eggs and ham.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it, it all depends on what you're doing with the vehicle in the end. If you're going to start doing some hardcore stuff and you think you're going to be in a position where you can have that accidental slip and fall in your slider, then make sure you get a good reputable company in sliders that people can have vouched for. Because I've seen some that are name brand ones that look nice, and for the most part they hold up, but once you get a good hit on them, the whole body of the tub gets a crease in it, so now you got body damage. So there's some trade-offs. I would lean more towards the welding them on if you're going to do the harder stuff. A lot of the more kind of bolt-on options, especially like the rock slides, those are great. I've seen those things take some hits for sure. So,
well, definitely the earlier ones, the earlier rock slides were just bomb-proof.
Oh yeah,
I've seen some of the new ones bend a little easier than I would like.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, definitely get a good reputable company and do your research. Try to see what other people have done, especially in your area, because that's how you know what's going to hold up and what'll just take out the body and cause you more issues. So
I have a question for everybody here. Do you have, I've seen them called rock guards and rock sliders. I think it's kind of like suppressors, either being suppressors or silencers. They like to call them suppressors and not silencers. But does anybody here have some rock sliders that now they're wondering if they are what they thought they had, that maybe you need to upgrade, or you're concerned about what you're running on your Jeep now?
Hell, I'm still running I got the Recon, so I got the Ruby rails with the step attached to it, and hell, they've taken some pretty hard hits, and they're holding up great for me. I'm not concerned.
Before I went to the ones I have now, the ones that I had, they were the only place that they mounted was at the body mounts. And I didn't realize it till somebody pointed out to me. Actually, is when I was showing I was showing pictures of my tummy tuck, and somebody had commented on there, said, "Ooh, I'd get rid of them rock sliders, because as soon as they take a hit, it's going to act like a lever, and it's just going to like a pry bar, and it's just going to pop those. It's going to pop your body right off your frame. And when I looked at it, and I was like, "Holy crap, you're right." I mean, I never even thought about that, and that's one of the reasons why I went with the ones that I got, and because I like the way they. I mean, I don't know how many bolts are in the GenRight ones. There's like 30 bolts. I don't know. But a lot of it it's both sides. It sandwiches. So you got the body panel, and you got steel on one side and then steel on the other side, and then it sandwiches it together, and it's on the side, it's on the bottom, it's the whole thing. Now it does not connect to the body mount locations.
Hey, Rick, is that just bolting to the tub itself? Is that bolting through the tub with a steel plate?
Yes, it's bolting through the tub on the sides, right under the door. There's like I want to say 4 or 5 that are kind of spread out there across the top of the rock rail there, and then there's I don't know how many across the there's a bunch on the bottom, and then it's just the way it
it's a standard length TJ. There should be 7 on the bottom and I think 6 on the top.
Okay.
Have you took any licks with it? I mean, it seems like it would actually bend that body just above it. I mean, it's gonna it'll go to your first weakest point, which would be just under your door. It seems like.
Well, no, because the way that it's attached underneath, it's actually grabbing. So where the pinch seam is, you've got 2 layers of steel, and then the bottom, which is the hat section that your body mounts are in. That hat section is actually a structural part of the unit body, so it attaches to both the structure of the unit body and then up the side. I've seen like people run a red light and T-bone those rocker guards, and no damage to the Jeep.
Yeah, I've taken some. Well, when I was just at S'more, I landed hard on it. Slid down, landed hard on them, and hard enough to where I looked because I was worried, and didn't do a thing to them. And the bottom, the piece that goes under the bottom of the tub it's a solid piece that goes all the way to the frame.
Oh, okay, I got you.
It's a big plate, and it's not just a single plate. It's a lot of it is double plated. It's kind of a it's like a box. I don't know how to like a thin.
Yeah, the way they do it, it's kind of boxed in, and it has internal gussets in it as well. So it really, really distributes the load. So if you let's say you take a whack right behind the driver tire, the bolt that's in front of the rear tire literally transfers the same load. So it distributes that load across the entire rocker guard, which then is distributing the load across, I don't know how many how many hundreds of inches of sheet metal and structural support. So they really are incredibly strong.
So there's more to it than just what it looks like. I mean, as far as underneath and bracing and all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It ties into everything. It's, that's how all rocker guards used to kind of be built. So when the TJ guys, they're kind of like XJ guys, they pushed harder. And so those first rocker guards, they were designed like that. So early 2000s to, mid 2000s, probably 2010ish, people were still coming up with amazing rocker guards for TJs. And then, the JK thing took over, and they kind of copied the idea for a while. But like I said earlier, when the JL came out, a lot of companies just started going to the pinch seam and kind of ditched the big engineering behind them, because they sell more parts, right? If it's cheaper to manufacture and cheaper to engineer, and you sell just as many of them, well, you stop putting in as much effort.
Yeah, bolt-on is like, there's a lot more people that's going to be able to do a bolt-on than they will be able to do a weld-on.
Let me bolt-on. It's the engineering put behind it.
Let me jump over to
versus.
Let me jump over to Steve-O, because I don't know that Steve-O has anything other than the stock Ruby rails on your Jeep. Steve, what do you have on your Jeep, and are you concerned about what we're talking about as far as because you wheeled your Jeep? I just don't know if you have any concerns based on what you've heard tonight.
No, one of the first things I did was replace mine. I went with LOD. They're called armor lights. They're actually aluminum, which I know Greg's cringing right now. But they have a steel plate that goes along the bottom, so they're actually got steel sliders on them, and they're frame mounted. One of the biggest things I didn't want was I had a buddy who did body mount on a JL and busted the bolt taking it out, and I cringed. I was like,
Sean Holman just responded. He might actually come on.
Oh, that'd be great.
so I look at the armor lights because one of the reasons too is they have bolt-on steps that come on and off that I use for my wife and daughter. So that way, when I'm wheeling, they come off, and when I'm tooling around town, they're on. But yeah, LOD, and I'm not sure if Greg's got any comments on LOD. LOD makes some pretty good solid stuff.
There's a lot of companies. LOD makes good stuff, but I mean, there's really a lot of companies, from JCR to, there's lots and lots of good companies. You just got to do your research and buy what you can afford and enjoy the shit out of it.
And that's what I did. I wanted body mount, not body mount. I wanted frame mount. I didn't want to deal with the body bolts, and I didn't want pinch seam. So then I took the old Ruby rails off, and I gave them to Buddy in a Sport.
So let me jump over to FU Bob, which is his full proper name. Bob, do you have rock sliders on your TJ? And if so, how do they mount? Whose are they, and how do they mount?
Yeah, I have white knuckle sliders. They are bolt on, and I mean, anybody who's seen the way that I drive my TJ, they've survived
with his eyes closed.
They're amazing on all those gravel roads.
No, they collect mud real well.
Yeah, well, they probably hold up better than the radiator.
Yeah, he's a radiator guard.
Poor Bob, he's well loved.
I put all the bolts in the sliders, though. That's the difference.
So you got to go more than 2 miles an hour to actually have any issues with your head.
I don't know. That Jeep has rested on those a couple of times. So
Bob has wished he had just stayed quiet like he wasn't there.
It was not a setup, Bob. I guarantee you, it wasn't a setup. Me calling on you.
Oh, I got no problem with it.
Oh, I know you don't, but it's
neither do we.
Still funny. All right, so Travis, are you back? Are you watching TV? Are you paying attention to the show? Because I'd like to know what you're doing to your new Jeep, your diesel JLU.
Adding flotation.
He's not. Figured that.
Yeah, he's coming to the camera.
Yeah, I'm coming to the camera. I'm working. Hey, can he borrow some of yours, Rick? You have extra flotation, don't you?
Yeah, I have flotation devices for everybody.
Emergency floating ducts.
There goes Bob trying to claw back. Just be quiet, Bob.
All right, Travis, what are you going? What sliders do you have on your JLU, your diesel JLU?
Well, I've got the MotoBilt. Well, when I purchased it, I had the retractable up and down amp, and I immediately sold those on Marketplace because they would get completely destroyed. If they were rock slides, I may have kept them just to see, but they were the amp, and they're a show up and down ball crawler, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's what I feel about those. So I put my MotoBilt back on, and it's a full underbelly. It's a rock slide. And then on my YJ, I have Wizard Works Off-Road, which is a body mount weld, full side protection as well. The Wizard Works on the YJ, I think, are the best, even though that doesn't run or ever see a trail. But they're a true solid rock slide. And these MotoBilts have definitely been beat up and used and scratched and damaged. And I was painting them, before I put them on to make sure I don't have any rust issues. But they are solid, and with the weight of this Jeep already, I'm very, very happy to have them on, and we'll continue to beat them up.
Cool. All right, so John, I don't know, John Cooper, I don't know if you want to get in on this this conversation. Do you have sliders on your Jeep, and if so, what kind?
After hearing how he treated Bob, he's not answering.
He's I ain't getting in that.
How about you, Dan? Dan, what are you running?
I've got DV8s on mine, and so far, I mean, they hold up. What's that?
Dented ones.
Dented ones. They're doing their job. Better that than my body. They're frame mounted as well as pinch seam mounted. So I wanted both and not one or the other. But, except for the coating, like everything else, it's not, they're not the cheapest. They're not the most expensive. So any of the coatings are going to be questionable. So I've had to touch them up and repaint them. But other than that, I think I might have actually torqued one, twisted up like Greg was mentioning. Not quite as bad where it's going to catch the door, but I noticed looks like it might have been tweaked at Moab last year.
Yeah, those coatings don't handle that trip across the ocean as well as they used to.
No.
That salt water plays havoc.
That's right.
Hey, what is the price point? We're talking about not the expensive, like the MotoBilts. What is this set of MotoBilt rock slides? What they generally cost? What are they running?
The ones I have, which are the boat tail sides that tie into the body and the frame, they were about $1,200, and that's raw, the 3/16. So I got them powder coated on the top and painted on the bottom so that I can retouch them up.
Wow, I wonder what they cost for TJs.
Mine were $950 for my 2-door.
Dang, I thought you guys had me in the bougie category with the GenRight stuff. Mine were only $800. I think I got them delivered for like $750.
That's like a third of the material, though. So you still got the bougie side. Yours are like what, 2 feet long?
They're 2.5 feet long.
So $800 for a third of the material. I think you still win the bougie award.
Damn it, math.
I don't know. Here's a set for you, and this will blow you away at the cost of these.
Turn your camera on.
Turn your camera on.
Oh, why does it keep turning off?
I think when you go to your SMS text messages, when you're text messaging people, I think it switches off.
Oh, so this set here, and it's for TJ, but sitting here on the floor. So this set, and there's a lot of custom work, right? Because they're not specifically designed for a brute until I made them that way. So this set is about $5,300. So this wins the Bougie Award.
Good God!
Yeah, you definitely won the Bougie Award.
Yeah, so they were about $2,000 before all the custom fabric. After about 35, 40 hours of custom fab and then repowder coating.
He's added the Henderson
$5,000 for that pair.
He's added the Henderson cost to it. I got it.
So one follow-up question then for the Tonys and the Riches and stuff. Obviously, y'all don't frame mount your XJ sliders. What's the top
my XJ slider is attached to the unibody and plug welded. So it can't be attached to the frame, but it's damn close. So it's on the side that it connects to the body. It's the unibody with plug welds, and on the outside, it's attached to the pinch seams.
Yeah, I just want to throw that out there because we were using the term frame mounted a lot and body mounted, and so you
can't do anything but body mount on the XJ.
Exactly, but it's not the same body mount as we're talking about on the JKs and the JLs and stuff. It's a little different.
Greg, I got a question for you. When it comes to like I said before, I'm basically, I got the Ruby rails with the step mounted to them. It's frame mount and body mount, but I also added like
not frame mounted at all.
It was mounted to the body mounts. Sorry.
Yep.
They're wired.
But anyways, I added metal cloak's got the skid or the armor that goes across the entire rocker panel, and then by doing that, my steps are within probably 1/16 of an inch or less from that skid plate. In some ways that could actually be making him a little bit stronger, because now instead of having like a 1/4 inch gap in there, if I do land on something, it's transferring that weight from the step to to the armor, which is also then transferring it across the side of the Jeep, just not into one spot. I mean, would that be a true statement, or am I wrong?
Well, it's distributing the load a little bit more because of the added armor, but they're still attached the same way. But honestly, the factory Rubicon rocker guards, they're not bad, right? I mean, they're really not bad. They're designed to hold up the entire weight of the vehicle. So, I mean, they might not be as good as some of the aftermarket stuff, but they're still good. And you added some more structural support, so they're stronger than the way that they left the factory.
Well, and and then there's other things too. Like, I mean, I have the underbody skid, or the skid plating, the metal cloaks under the skid, the undercloak skid plating, which adds the boat tail to the underside of the frame, which that's actually making less of an angle, kind of like a departure angle. When you're coming off something. So maybe if I'm landing on just the step or just the rocker guard, sure, it might take some real damage. But if it lands on if it's far enough, if the object is far enough under the vehicle, it's not going to just hit the rocker guard. It's going to hit the skid plate. It's going to hit the ruby rail. It's going to hit everything all at once. So I guess there's multiple different scenarios where, just simply falling off of a 4-foot ledge, are you landing on just the rocker guard?
Well, it depends on how it lands, but yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with any of them, right? The only thing that's wrong is people who don't have any of it and try and go off road. So
yeah,
that's true.
So just enjoy the shit out of it. And if and when you damage it, you're going to upgrade.
Right.
So, and you've been behind the wheel much more than a lot of newbies. You've done some pretty hardcore stuff. I mean, you ran Pritchett with it and some other, amazing trails. So as long as you have some form of rocker protection, you're better off than none.
Absolutely. You definitely don't want to be doing this stuff without rocker protection.
If all you get is a pinch seam showing,
I said it earlier. Yeah, I said it earlier. Run with what you're comfortable with. Run with what you're comfortable with spending, and just enjoy it. Right. That's what makes this hobby great. Is nobody's right, nobody's wrong. Everybody can explore the Jeep in their own way. From the bougiest shit in the world to Schedule 40 black pipe welded to your frame, right? It all works as long as it's in your wheelhouse and you're willing to, make the upgrade when you need it.
There's always a plan B, and that's cut it all off and put both sides on it.
Yeah, both sides of the fucking world.
All right, so Derek, I don't know if you had any more. You seem to jump in there when you need to, but I wanted to go to you really quick to make sure you didn't have something in addition that you wanted to say. And before we wrap up,
I don't think so. I think mine's pretty covered.
Good.
I was kind of like Greg earlier, I kind of had that first impression of, it's either weld on or nothing, but if we're trying to help people out and get the word out, just do what you can afford. I think that's the ticket. Yeah. You're gonna, if you're wheeling, you're gonna fuck something up. But it's just a matter of, what do you have? What can you afford? And if you mess it up, then you learn from it and try to get what you can.
So do the best you can is what I'm hearing from a few of you. And the problem I have with that, let me see if this is a bad comparison. So you go to buy a Jeep and you can get a Wrangler, but it's really expensive, or you can get a Renegade, which is a lot cheaper. Do you do what you can afford, or do you select a few more aluminum cans and get that Wrangler? Because that's kind of what we're talking about here on the protection. I don't think
the Renegade, even the Renegade has a trail rated badge. So who cares, right? Look at the guys with Liberties that are going out and just destroying the world. Look at the guy with
I haven't seen that.
The guy with the $2,000 XJ that just destroys everything, right? Run what you brung. Come out.
XJ is a different beast. I guarantee you. It's a TJ on a station wagon body.
All right. Well, what we're really talking about is what we're willing to accept as far as a risk factor. It's like, when I rode a motorcycle, that some guys would leather up and body armor up and helmet and I mean,
oh, you got to buy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just full blown.
And then there's the asshole like me with flip flops and shorts.
Yep. And then you got the next guy with flip flop shorts and not wearing a helmet at all, or
and a kilt without the reverse suspenders. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. So it's a risk assessment, and what you're willing to take on is a risk, and we all do the best we can as far as we all want. None of us want to tear our crap up. We spend too much money, blood, sweat, and tears putting into it. To just tear it up.
So to be clear, I don't feel that the Jeep Talk Show's job is to tell you what you should buy. I think our job here is to make sure you understand what the options are, to educate you and what you can do or what's acceptable. I think everybody understands that at some level you have to do what you find accessible for you and what you can afford. But I think it's important to understand that if you're going to be doing things, there is a absolute right way of doing it, and the rest of it is compromise. And that might be the wrong statement. You guys can disagree with it, but that's the way I look at it. There's a right way and there's a compromise way. But what do you want to do? And doing the compromise way doesn't mean you can't go to something that's the right way in the future. So I'm glad we had this discussion. And let me see. I was going to go with one other person. I want to make sure that they got everything in. Let's see. It wasn't Dan. It wasn't Derek. Bob, we don't want to talk to him again. We didn't get John earlier. John, I want to check with you real quick. Make sure that you didn't want to jump in here real quick before we wrap up. John's in here for the head count, I think. So, yeah, I guess
I was gonna say one more thing.
Sure.
I guess
surprising, but go ahead.
Well, yeah. What some of this conversation might help people with is there's definitely different levels. But then there's also some that you just want to run away from. You
Exactly.
don't. There's some that if you're expecting a little bit more than the average protection, there are some that you just want to run away from because they're not going to do it.
Would everybody agree that the Chinese built stuff you want to stay away from?
Yeah, the Chinesium is not very good.
Yeah,
not very good for your.
If you can only get a couple bucks in aluminum out of them when you destroy them, they probably weren't worth buying.
All right, guys. Yep. All right, guys. Well, we do this every week, and we really would like to have you here. And you never can tell. There's several big names in the industry that know about the show because Greg sent them text messages. All of them had to wash their hair; they weren't available to be here on the show tonight, but at least they know about the roundtable, so we may see them here in the future. All right, that's a wrap for this week's Jeep Talk Show Roundtable. A big thank you to all of our Zoom participants. You guys make this so much fun and informative every week. And informative, I think we should underline, because we have a lot of people with a lot of good information here, and Roger. So we really appreciate you. We really appreciate you being here. Travis is just glad you're here, Roger, because we used to pick on Travis all the time.
Yeah, piss off.
Remember, you can join us again next Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Central Time for more Jeep Talk, random questions, and always a few rabbit trails. Don't forget to visit xjtalk.com/contact to find out how you can be part of the conversation. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week. And a reminder, it's the second nature to me. We record on Tuesday, we publish on Wednesday. So if you missed the roundtable on Tuesday, you can listen or view the show on YouTube or Rumble on Wednesday. So check us out and have a good time. So we now return this Zoom meeting to regular
broadcasting since 2010.
You're my friend. You're my new friend.